I recognise the impact that it has on people here in the UK, and so it is important. Shall we just wait until they've gone? I had a sandwich.
Nigel Farage! You are Nigel!
Oh, I didn't know what the politics was, but now I do.
We've got British flags on and we're going to get arrested! We've got English flags on here, Rachel. We're going to get arrested. Look at Rachel Reeves there with a smile on her face. They're ruining the country. Get to us down or else. What's the big flag?
I love our country. I love our country. I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. It's not very British. Right. Very good. You can put that on the telly. Right.
Actually, Rachel Reeves, that is very, very British. That is the pinnacle of Britishness. You know, this is who we are. This is the mood of the people. Everybody thinks like this. This is the actual mood of the people in the UK. Nobody likes you, Rachel. Nobody at all. But what I want to do today is I want to go into Rachel Reeves. I don't literally want to go in. What I want to do is focus on Rachel Reeves when she's in Commons. And you know me by now, guys. I'm going to keep pausing it and put my 2 cents in. So here we go, guys. So let's see what lies we've got from the mathways that is Rachel Reeves.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and with permission I will make a statement on the government's economic response to the war in Iran and the action that we are taking to support families and businesses with rising costs. Madam Deputy Speaker, the government has the right economic plan. I said I would grow the economy, and last week the Office for National Statistics confirmed that Britain's economy was the fastest growing in the G7 for the first quarter of this year.
Right. That right there, that seems to be their bragging rights right now, because Keir Starmer came out with this the other day when he was in Commons as well, when he was getting roasted by Kemi Badenoch. They are the fastest growing in the G7 for quarter one of 2026. I want you to think back to quarter one of 2025, around about the March time. Again, the UK had the highest growing economy in the G7. Exactly the same. And then it fell off a cliff after that. This will do exactly the same. But what I want to focus on, I really want to point this out, and I tried to point this out last time when they said this, at being the highest, that is a 0.6% growth. But the most important thing is this includes government spending, and it is heavily dependent on government spending. In fact, 0.4% of that growth is, as far as I'm aware, attributed to government spending. And only 0.2% is actual, what I would call real growth. Now, the reason I'm not going to call government spending real growth is because government spending, that includes your welfare system. And we know that there's a lot of money going into welfare. Climate change and stuff like this, you know, your transport, the NHS, everything, government spending accounts for 0.4% of this GDP growth. So it was exactly the same last year. You know, they've done nothing. And this is what I want you to focus on. I think so far the projected government spending for this year is going to be 42.86% for this fiscal year. Now, we're not going to see any growth. Look, why do you think the UK is going to believe you? Like I said, look back to quarter one of 2025. We had exactly the same rhetoric, and the economy didn't grow. Inflation didn't come down. Nothing changed. In fact, it got worse. And this is exactly the same. When you spend ridiculous amounts on, we'll use welfare as the example, welfare and climate change, because they seem to be the biggest spends for the government. What do you think is going to happen? It all accounts for GDP growth. How much is the government going to have to borrow to sustain that spending? That is the question. There is no growth, zero growth. In my opinion, the 0.2% is negligible. I think when I was looking into this, I think the US, I think it was last year, was 2.6% growth. And this year, I can't remember what it was this year, but when the US already have a 2.6%, and I think it was about 1 point something percent this year, on top of what it already grew last year, you know. And the UK is like it always is. It's stagnant. It's a fish out of water. It's just flapping its last breath. It's as simple as that.
We beat the Office of Budget Responsibility's forecast in the spring with economic growth at 0.6% in the 3 months to March. And because of the resilience of our economy, this week the International Monetary Fund upgraded Britain's forecast for this year. I said I would cut borrowing. Borrowing last year was £20 billion lower than the previous year. And the latest forecasts show it falling in every year of this Parliament.
Now, I really want to test them claims as well, because this government has borrowed a lot of money. So I really want to test that claim.
The IMF has backed our economic plan, saying that the government's fiscal framework strikes, and I quote, a good balance between deficit reduction and growth-friendly spending. I said I would cut the cost of living. Since the election, interest rates have been cut 6 times.
Again, I'm going to keep saying this because she keeps bragging about this, and she's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. When the Bank of England keeps cutting interest rates, that indicates there is a problem with the economy. They cut the interest rates to encourage spending. That's why they do it, not because the economy is booming, but because the economy is not booming. So you can brag that they've lowered the interest rates 6 times. That's on you.
Real wages have continued to rise in every single month since I became Chancellor.
Right. So we'll take that argument. We'll give her that one. She did a huge raise on the minimum wage. But what good is minimum wage when there is no employment? To gain minimum wage, you need to be employed. Yes, so for the very few that's in employment, brilliant. What a fantastic job.
And yesterday, the ONS confirmed that inflation fell in April faster than expected, making the UK the only G7 economy where inflation fell last month.
Right. So as far as the inflation goes, last month we were down to 2.8%. The 12 months to March, we were at 3.3% inflation. I don't know the exact mechanism what brought inflation down in April, but the forecast and the overall warning is that it's set to rise again. Virtually straight away, it's going to rise again, up to about the 4% mark is projected. The only reason inflation is actually down to 2.8% last month, the 12 months prior was at 3.3%. Last month, it fell to 2.8%. But it fell because of the energy price cap was one of the driving factors, and the no excise duty on motors. So it's down to 2.8%, but all the forecasts have it going up again. It is not just going to go up, but it is projected at 4% very shortly. It's already on the rise again. It's still above the Bank of England's ideal of 2%. And getting it down for a month, Rachel, is not success. Especially for the last 12 months, it's sitting there at 3.3%. For 1 month, it goes to 2.8%. And now it's set to rise straight away again, up until the levels of 4%. In any aspect, that is not success. That, to me, the fact that it went down in March to 2.8% is a blip. A simple little blip. That's it.
Madam Deputy Speaker, we have the right economic plan.
You can tell she doesn't know what a woman is. Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam. Can men have ovaries?
But the conflict in the Middle East poses a significant challenge to the world's economy, including our own.
Right, I'm going to point this out because I'm sick of them. Keir Starmer is torture for this. I am sick and tired of them citing the Iran war as the reason everything has gone to shit. I'm going to clear this up right here. The Iran war started, around about the 6th or the 8th of April. Last month is when the Iran war started. How has that affected you? How has the Iran war negatively impacted your ability to do your job? The fact that things haven't changed, the fact that inflation is still high. How is Iran war a factor of your failed economy? It's been going a month.
I have not shied away from my criticism of the war. I believe it to have been a mistake. Nor have I ignored the cost.
And I'm going to point this out as well, because Starmer does exactly the same. Look, I'm going to put it simple. When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, the UK and Europe did not just back Ukraine. We funded their war. We were all in there. We were all set for a war with Putin because of Ukraine. We have given billions to the Ukraine. And that is a dispute over territory. Right, I want to point out the main difference between that and Iran. Like I just stated, Ukraine and Russia is a conflict that was going to happen eventually anyway. And yes, it's mainly over territory. Russia wants a certain territory, Ukraine won't give them it. Iran is different. Iran, for the past 46 years, has been governed by an occupation, by a terrorist organisation. When it comes to the UK and we see what we're going in, just look at the history of Iran. Look how the Ayatollah got in control of Iran. Then look back at the UK and see what's happening in the UK. It's like rinse and repeat. If you want to see where we'll be in 46 years, look to Iran. But it is a war we should have got involved in because they are innocent people. The innocent people got sick and tired of everything that was happening to them by this terrorist regime. On a scale of importance, I would argue that the Iran war is more important than the Ukraine war. But of course, the Iran war brings you no fund and you don't want that land. Because that's what it's going to come down to. Look into it. BlackRock's already set aside a vast amount of money to rebuild Ukraine. They don't want Putin getting the land because they want it. The Iran war is about freedom. The war in Iran is saving lives. Simple as that.
That it will bring to bear on the British people. I've been clear-eyed about my duty to do what I can to support families and businesses.
Bullshit.
To be responsive to a changing world and responsible in the national interest.
To a changing... You can't even adjust to a static world, you stupid... How are you going to adjust to a changing world? Even when the world wasn't changing? Apart from the change you're implementing. You couldn't keep track, you couldn't manage it. Because you're not supposed to manage it, are you? Your orders are to crash the economy. Be honest for once.
Next week, Ofgem will confirm the level of the energy price cap that will apply from July. I know that any increase will be felt by families.
Exactly, and this was another thing. This is all they had. It's all they ever have. When they backed into a corner, lifting children out of poverty. No, you're not. There's only a select few people that's going to benefit from that. And the select few people that's going to benefit from it is not going to lift the children out of poverty, but it will get the parents new iPhones, new TVs, new holidays, new things for the parents. That's what it'll do. The children are going to feel nothing. And then they've got breakfast clubs, which I'm sure was a Tory initiative, but I can't be sure on that. And then we have the energy caps. And the £150 off energy, right? It was never going to outweigh the energy price increase. We don't want 150 back. We want the energy to stop going up. How are we going to do that, do you reckon? Do you reckon we can start drilling our own oil and creating our own energy? The energy, like I said, they've got nothing. Pulling children out of poverty. Breakfast clubs. The energy cap. Nothing burgers. They are nothing burgers. The pulling children out of poverty, lifting the two-child cap, it puts a massive strain on the welfare system, which is going to drive tax and inflation up. And very few people are going to benefit, certainly not working people. The energy price cap, the energy cap, trust me, your bills are going to go up. Your bills are still going to go up. And the free breakfast clubs. What kind of parent cannot give their children breakfast? I'm not hating on people who are struggling, but I'm a struggling parent myself. But I always manage to feed my kids. It's your responsibility. It's your job. So that's all they've got. They've got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Because of the decision that I made at the budget last year.
Yep, because of the decisions you made at the budget last year, unemployment is up. The country is buckled.
To cut £150 from energy bills. We have lessened the impact of rising prices.
Lessened, not negated.
And current external forecasts suggest that the cap from July will be at a similar level to the cap in April last year.
Similar how? £200 difference each way? Obviously on the higher end.
We stand ready to act if market conditions worsen significantly later this year.
How are you going to act? You, like I said, you can't even act in a stagnant economy. The economy could be standing still for a year and you've still failed to act.
And I have been leading cross-government contingency work on design of potential future targeted and temporary support. For businesses, any support will also need to be carefully targeted at firms most exposed to the crisis. But while many firms have been insulated from recent price rises through fixed price contracts, there are sectors that face particular structural issues related to energy costs. That is why we have already increased support for our most energy-intensive industries through the British Industry Competitiveness Scheme, and we've brought that forward. And it is why we have also built resilience in our critical...
I wonder who the ones are that's going to benefit. Is these the big conglomerates? Are they...
infrastructure and industrial strategy sectors where supply chains are critical for growth and security. Exactly. Following representations from my right honourable friends, the members for Redcar, Mid Cheshire and Bathgate Linlithgow, and building on the good work of the Minister for Industry, I am today establishing a £350 million critical chemicals resilience fund to support strategically important producers. And having listened to my right honourable honourable friends, including the members for Stoke-on-Trent Central, North and South, and my honourable friend, the member for Amber Valley, and workers represented by the GMB union, I am today announcing a new £120 million fund to help our historic ceramics sector, helping them to increase efficiency and drive down energy costs, because we will always stand up for British industry and for British jobs. The government has also this week set out additional targeted support for those businesses most exposed to rising fuel costs. For hauliers, the government is granting a 12-month road tax holiday for HGVs, saving the typical heavy lorry up to £912. To support farmers and the rail freight industry, I have decided to cut duty on red diesel by over a third until the end of this year. And having heard from my honourable friend, the member for Oldham West, Chadderton and Royton, and the trade union Unison, I can today announce a 10p per mile increase in tax-free mileage rates, backdated to April 2026, benefiting those who need to drive for work, from care workers to plumbers.
If you want to help those who drive to work, you could remove some, you don't have to remove all, of your ridiculous excessive duty on fuel. Just take a little bit of that revenue off at the pump for everybody.
Madam Deputy Speaker, when a country faces challenges because of higher oil and gas prices,
For a month.
we must ensure that that those who benefit
And we wouldn't have higher prices if we started supplying our own. Stop looking into this green shit. You know, it's sustainable energy. What even is sustainable energy? Have they explained it? I think they just focus on wind and solar, aren't they? Ask Nikola Tesla how you get an abundance of energy.
from increased prices and volatility pay their fair share. In my first budget, I extended and increased the energy profits levy. Last year, I announced a new permanent windfall tax regime on oil and gas prices. Last month, I increased the electricity generator levy, alongside further action to weaken the link between high gas prices and electricity prices. Today, I am bringing forward specific changes to the taxation of foreign branch profits, changing how companies are taxed in relation to their overseas activities. Currently, some oil and gas groups that operate overseas through foreign branches have structured their tax affairs in a way which ensures they pay little or no corporation tax on their UK energy trading profits. Today, we are putting an end to that practice. We expect these reforms to raise hundreds of millions of pounds a year and fund the package of measures set out today, with costings certified by the OBR forecast in the usual way. Madam Deputy Speaker, I know the pressure that family finances are under. That is why I have already taken action to provide help. I increased the national living wage and the national minimum wage.
And again, has led to high levels of unemployment. A lot of business closures.
To their highest rates ever. I have frozen prescription
Not a good thing.
charges for 2 years in a row, and I've frozen rail fares for the first time in 30 years. I've taken £150 off energy bills, which contributed towards the fall in inflation last month. But I want to go further.
It did contribute to the fall. In fact, I would say that was the main contributor to it, is the energy.
And today I am taking further action to ease the burden on family finances. First, on fuel duty. I have already extended the 5p cut twice since the election, and I can confirm today that there will be no rise in fuel duty this year.
Oh, no rise. You just keeping the cut in place. You're not going to remove any of that duty because there's a lot of revenue put on by the government. So,
recognising the pressure that the war has put on fuel prices.
The war's been going for a little over a month. Nearly 2 months, if I'm honest.
Second, I know that the cost of the weekly shop is often one of the biggest worries for families. So last month, I met with supermarkets to urge them to do all they can to keep prices low.
Do you know why the prices are going up at the supermarkets, even outweighing inflation? It's because when, in your first budget, you increased the national insurance on employers, and then this year, you increased the national minimum wage. Now, a lot of these companies have a lot of employees, and payroll is one of their highest outgoings. It was always going to be the case that these companies, certainly the big ones like Tesco's and Sainsbury's and stuff like that, Asda, they aren't going to eat them losses. They're going to pass them on to the consumer by increasing the price of their goods.
And today I am taking action by suspending tariffs on over 100 different foods sold in supermarkets. And I am clear that I expect supermarkets to pass these savings on in full to their customers.
I think I read somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, I read a lot of random stuff, so I don't know the validity of it, I can't attain for. But I'm sure the average they worked out was 10p a week per household saving on your weekly shop. 10p a week. So over a year, you save like £5.20, which is, what, a cup of coffee? That's nothing. That's a nothing burger. Again, like I said, I don't know how true that is, but I'm sure that was the figure they were looking at. Around about 10 pence off your shop every week from per household.
And third, I will not tolerate any company exploiting the current situation to make excess profits at consumers' expense. So I am bringing forward tough new powers so that the Competition and Markets Authority and other regulators can take action when firms break the rules. Fourth, for
Are we talking about the big firms and the little firms, or just the little ones?
many families, driving is not always an option. Buses are the most popular form of public transport in Britain, with over 4 billion journeys made last year. I have already extended the £3 bus fare cap to March 2027, and today I can confirm that bus travel across England will be free for children aged between 5 and 15 throughout August.
Just throughout August. So, the main holiday of the British school system, the 6 weeks holidays. Now, I don't know what it's like where you're from, but in my area, our bus services, we use Go North East and we use Arriva, Stagecoach and stuff like this. Whenever the schools have holidays, they let the kids go free anyway. They have done that for quite a while now. In holidays, kids go free. I will caveat that I think the maximum age is, I think it's 11 or 12 on that. I think it ranges from 5 to 11 or 5 to 12. So, but at the end of the day, it's something bus companies are already doing. In the comments, in your area, does your bus company already do that? And why just August? You understand that families are struggling. You understand that not every family drives. And you're going to implement these measures for August. Well.
Finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I recognise that what matters for families is not just getting by, but being able to enjoy time together without worrying about the next bill. That is why I am launching the Great British Summer Savings Scheme to help families and support our hospitality sector. So I can today announce a temporary cut in the rate of VAT on summer attractions from 20% to 5% over the summer holidays. This will apply to ticket prices for both adults and children, covering attractions such as fairs, theme parks, zoos and museums. It will include children's tickets for cinemas, concerts, soft play and the theatre. And it will cut the cost of children's meals in restaurants and cafes from 20% VAT to 5% as well. These changes will apply across the UK, from the start of the Scottish school holidays on the 25th of June and run until the end of school holidays in England, Wales and Northern Ireland on the 1st of September. Madam Deputy Speaker.
Right, when was that too?
VAT to 5% as well. These changes will apply across the UK, from the start of the Scottish school holidays on the 25th of June and run until the end of school holidays in England, Wales and Northern Ireland on the 1st of September.
Absolutely pathetic. What? Can you see what she's doing? Can you literally see what she's doing? Right. I'll try and break it down. This is my understanding. This is what's going through my head. This is a big nothing burger. You're not going to save much. You're not going to save much at all. But I have a couple of questions. Is, one, how much is this going to cost the taxpayer on all these cuts? Or are you just literally removing the VAT and, eating the loss yourself? That's one question. The issue I've got with this is, the state of the economy, the cost of living is through the roof. You know it is. All you are doing is during the holidays, the children get bored. So you are just creating an incentive for parents to spend what money they don't have to go out because they're going to save, 15, 20% on VAT. And they can get there and the kids don't have to pay for the bus. At the end of the day, it's not that the family goes to the zoo for free. It's not that the family can go and watch a movie in the cinema for free. No, you are creating incentives. It's like toy companies advertising, isn't it? Toys are ridiculously priced and they spend a lot in advertising because they know once them children see those toys, they're going to bug the parents for them. So all that's going to happen is families that don't normally go to the zoo, families that don't normally go to the cinema, are going to be dragged there by their children, or even sitting there thinking, do you know what? I'm going to get 15% VAT off the bands, so, you know, the 20 odd pence saving, it justifies spending money we weren't going to spend. I might be looking at this all wrong, but that's all I can see. And it screams desperation, considering it just runs for the school holiday period. What help is this, Rachel? How is this helping families? Now, bear in mind, you have to understand that with the cost of living, you've got to hope that parents can afford to take time off work to do this. Oh, I get it. It's aimed for the benefits families. Right, yeah.
Madam Deputy Speaker, this government has the right economic plan. We promise to grow the economy.
This is not an economic plan. It isn't. You're going to try and grow the economy by making poor people spend money they don't have. Wait, like we've established, it's going to be people on benefits, so they've got more money than the poor people. But, come on, this is not an economic plan at all.
Economy, and we have. We promised to cut inflation, and we have. And we...
Right, I'm going to reiterate. You were the highest growth in the G7 for Q1 of 2026, the same as Q1 in 2025. That was due to excessive government spending alone. Otherwise, you would have been at the bottom of the list, even below Japan. Inflation was a fluke, if you ask me, for last month. Considering when you look at inflation over the last 12 months, last month was a fluke. Either a fluke or fiddled bucks. But like I said, it's already projected to go up to 4% from here. And then you offer nothing for school holidays. It's just as much as nothing, which is going to cost the average person more because they're going to feel compelled to do these things with the kids, even then they can't afford it. And the taxpayer is going to have to pay the shortfall.
Promise to cut the cost of living, and we are.
Are you really? Are you really cutting the cost of living? What is it? 10 pence off your weekly shop per household per week.
Promises made by a Labour government, promises delivered by a Labour government, and I commend this statement.
This Labour government has delivered absolutely naff all. Not a fucking thing. The only thing this Labour government has delivered is communism and disappointment. Simple as that.
To the House.
Yeah, so there we have it. Absolutely nothing. You know, that was a waste of airtime, was that? That was a waste. That is time I'll never get back. Let me know in the comments, do you think that Rachel Reeves or Rachel from Accounts, if you can think of a better name for it, I'd love to see some of the ideas. Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think that Rachel Reeves and this Labour government are fixing the economy? Even plan to fix the economy? They're not even making an attempt in my eyes. Probably it's because of this nearly 2-month war in Iran is why they haven't been able to get anything done to this point. Despite being in power 2 years in July. They've done fuck all. What they have done is more damage. That's the only thing they have done. To be fair, you are not going to fix the economy with rising unemployment. You might have a band-aid and the highest growth in the G7 for Q1 2026 due to your welfare. Due mainly to your welfare bill. There is no growth. If you think there's any growth, if you think inflation's down, if you think the cost of living is dropping, you, my friend, are in a fucking dream world. So no, inflation is not down. Inflation is set to rise to 4%. The cost of living is not coming down, it's going to rise. The cost of living has no signs of coming down. The welfare bill is the only thing contributing to the GDP at this point. Yeah, so that was Rachel Reeves. And guys, that's all I've got for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.